Hi everyone, how's it going? I mentioned in my last video that there was a big sale coming up, the Friends of the Library sale that benefits the local libraries here in town. And the sale just finished up. Yesterday was its fifth and final day, and everything was 10 cents yesterday. And the day before everything was half price. And this year was kind of special in that I managed to go pretty much every single day except the first day. I was out doing some family things the first day, which is kind of fortunate because I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff I missed that people snatched quickly. But I find that what I typically look for is jazz, and the jazz doesn't, a lot of stuff it's left behind for some reason. Not as many jazz collectors. A lot of college students looking for rock stuff, classic rock, things like that. And so I had a pretty good experience digging through, and enjoyed being able to go, over the course of 4 days and pick things out and kind of strategize and like what's worth it for the money that day. And yeah, pretty happy with what I came out with. Spent more than I meant to spend. I went the first day with $40 and said, okay, that's it. I'm spending 40 bucks and that's going to be it. Well, that first day I spent my 40 bucks, ran to the ATM, got another 20, came back, bought what else I wanted. And then the next day, got another $20 from the ATM and went back. Oh no, I'm sorry, another $10. Went back and bought some more stuff, and then finally, I think I just spent some pocket cash over the next day or two. And then the last day, I just scraped together like about $3 and bought a bunch of stuff for 10 cents a piece. So spent, I think, about $70, 70 and change, but came away with a whole bunch of records and some cool CDs. So let's get right into it. I've got a bit of a throat cold. Got some gunk growing in my throat, so I might sound a little rough here, but I'm not going to try to show everything. I've got a whole bunch of records, so I'm just grabbed a small stack, and I'm going to try to get through those in this video. So starting out with something pretty cool. This is on the Pacific Jazz label. This is Curtis Amy and Frank Butler, Groovin' Blue it's called, Pacific Jazz. This one's really cool because it features a young Bobby Hutcherson on vibes. This was actually Bobby Hutcherson's first appearance on an LP. He'd recorded something, I think, with the Les McCann Trio a year before. But this is the first time he actually appeared on a long playing record. So you got Curtis Amy on tenor sax, Frank Butler on drums, Carmel Jones on trumpet, Frank Strazzeri on piano, Jimmy Bond on bass. It's a little bit rough, some really clever seam repairs there, just throw a little scotch tape over either side, but it's alright. The record's actually in pretty decent shape. Yeah, it's cool. I really love Bobby Hutcherson. Just love jazz vibes in general. It's got the early Pacific Jazz label. So that was cool to find. I don't think it was a whole lot. $2.50, so not a bad find at all. I'm not too concerned about the condition, as long as the vinyl plays good. I mean, the cover's presentable at least. And then next up, some West Coast jazzy type stuff. This is on the Dot label. Dot. Occasionally they put out some cool jazz stuff, and this is one of them. I think it's from a series called Jazz Horizons. It is the Brothers Candoli. And the Brothers Candoli are Pete Candoli and, what's the other guy's name? Conte Candoli. And I think they both played trumpet. Could be wrong. Let me get my cheat sheet here. So who else is on here? Jimmy Rowles on piano, Howard Roberts on guitar, great guitarist, Joe Mondragon bass, and Alvin Stoller on drums. So a couple of West Coast jazz regulars. Yeah, good stuff. I I've seen pictures of this before. It's kind of on my list of kind of odd West Coast jazz records to look for. It's not on what I'd really consider a major label. I guess Dot was a respectable label, but not big in the jazz world, so it's kind of excited, cool to find this. Yeah. And then kind of skipping around a little here, some classical music. This one on the Everest label. I just love that cover. Crazy looking stuff. That's one of the reasons I bought it. Everest was a pretty good label early on, especially while it was still part of, see here, it says a division of the Blaylock Instrument Company, or Baylock Instrument Company. Once they were sold later on, they kind of went downhill, the quality of the pressings, I guess, but I think this is an early one. This has got some Ginastera on teal. Looks like suites from ballets. It's Sir Eugene Goossens conducting the London Symphony Orchestra. I don't really know much about the music on this, but still in shrink. Cool artwork on the cover, on a good label. So pick it up for, see, the green dot means 50 cents. So not a bad shot for 50 cents. And then some Benny Goodman. I'll pick up Benny Goodman if it's cheap and looks interesting. This one is Benny Goodman Swings Again. See, I think the reason I picked it up is it's got Red Norvo on Vibes. Very early Vibes guy, kind of came on the scene I think about the same time as Lionel Hampton, but definitely predating people like Bobby Hutcherson, you know, all the later jazz guys. So this one looks like 1960 maybe. It's a Columbia 6i, I believe. Yeah, stereo 6i. It's obviously pretty dirty, needs to be cleaned up, but should be cool. It says recorded live on the West Coast, so should be interesting. That was another one for 50 cents. And another one for 50 cents. I've actually already got a copy of this and a copy in stereo, but I couldn't pass it up. It's kind of music I really like. Kind of, well, the title says it all. TV Action Jazz by Mundell Lowe and his All-Stars. So Mundell Lowe is a guitar player and also composer, arranger. And his All-Stars here include, well, you can see it on the cover, some of the guys. We got Donald Byrd on trumpet, Tony Scott on clarinet and baritone sax, Jimmy Cleveland on trombone, Don Payne on bass, Ed Shaughnessy on drums, Eddie Costa on piano and Vibes. So some pretty strong players on here. It's on the RCA Camden, kind of the RCA budget label. But for 50 cents, I wasn't going to pass up another copy of this. Maybe I'll pass it on to someone. It's yeah, it's got themes from Peter Gunn, The Thin Man, M Squad, 77 Sunset Strip, Naked City, Perry Mason, and Mike Hammer. So you know it's got to be good. And then this was kind of cool. Found this in the bins, and it was in 3 pieces, and kind of managed to reassemble it. And it's a really cool collection. Here's part 1, piece 1. This is Bethlehem's Best. So this is a compilation off the Bethlehem label, West Coast jazz label. Kind of active from, I guess, the mid to late 50s up to the 60s, I think. So you can see in the inside, I think it's Chris Connor singing. And it's interesting, someone wrote their name on here, Small, and on the inside, T Small. And they stamped it on the inside, property of Terrence Small. And so I started to wonder, who is this Small guy? Because I've seen a lot of records of his, I think in thrift shops around town, and maybe even Second and Charles, and I know I saw a bunch at this sale. So I kind of had that in my mind, who is Terrence Small? but I'll get back to that in a minute. But a really good compilation, 3 records. In the last piece here, it's got all the information, recording dates, and personnel, so I'll just kind of rattle off some names. Chris Connor, the singer, Conte Candoli on trumpet, Stan Levy on drums, Howard McGee on trumpet, I think, Sahib Shihab, baritone sax, Duke Jordan piano, Philly Joe Jones drums, Milt Hinton bass, O.C. Johnson drums, Ruby Braff trumpet, Tony Scott clarinet, Howard Roberts guitar, Zoot Sims tenor sax, Bob Brookmeyer trombone, Kai Winding and J.J. Johnson trombones, Dick Katz piano, Mel Torme on vocals, Barry Galbraith guitar. Yeah, so a lot of really cool stuff. Herbie Mann and Sam Most flutes, Julie London vocals, Don Elliott mellophone, Irby Green trombone, Australian Jazz Quartet. So a lot of really neat stuff, a lot of important early West Coast jazz recordings on here. But to get back to this guy Terrence Small, when I got home I googled his name, and it turns out he was a professor at the university here in the music department, and looks like he was active there from at least the early 60s, and I think he retired in 2005. So he must have, I hope he didn't pass away recently. He's got to be a pretty old guy, but you know, I'm glad, you know, if word ever gets to him, I'm happy to have some of his records and be enjoying them, giving him a second life. He had a really awesome collection. You'll see some of the other records as I go through that had his name on them, and yeah, he had a pretty good sensibility, a lot of cool jazz. And okay, so next up on Atlantic, the Modern Jazz Quartet and Guests, Third Stream Music. So you've got the Jimmy Geoffrey 3 and the Beaux-Arts String Quartet. Yeah, nice Atlantic stereo pressing. Get this right here. You got the cool sort of purple and red label there. This one's in just beautiful shape. A couple of tiny scuffs. Still got the original inner sleeve. This one is $5. I should mention the Bethlehem set. There was no price on it, and you know, it was all torn apart into 3 different pieces. And so I took it to the front, and I thought, well, I'll have to ask them to maybe price it, and I'll come back later and see what they price it at. Well, the lady says, well, I think, what do we charge on unpriced records? Was it $1/4? And someone said, no, that's for the 45s. And I'm like, oh, this might be good. And she says, how about $1? So I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $1 for that. That was a sweet deal. Getting back to the Modern Jazz Quartet, this one is a little pricier, but it's in really nice shape. This is $5. Really cool gold cover on that. Happy to have that. I always pick up Modern Jazz Quartet. They're in good shape. Something a little more obscure, not the artist, but the just based on the label. On 20th Century Fox, Ultraphonic High Fidelity. This is Art Tatum Piano Discoveries Volume 2. Some neat cover art on that. And apparently what this was, someone found some recordings of him playing at a, I guess a Hollywood house party, playing after hours for friends and fellow musicians. So it's just him playing solo. I haven't really had a chance to listen to it yet, but should be pretty interesting. Some Art Tatum solo piano, but I really like that cover. It's pretty neat. And moving along, Flute Man. This is a Herbie Mann album reissued on Columbia. Got the little Columbia logo down there. And what this was, it was originally an album issued on Epic. There you can see the original cover art. It was originally Salute to the Flute from 1957 on Epic. This is a 1981 reissue, but it's got a lot of different musicians on here, including Joe Wilder on trumpet, Oscar Pettiford on bass, Philly Joe Jones on drums, sorry. From 1957, so that's really early in Herbie Mann's solo career. And I was looking on Discogs. It's really interesting. In '57, he recorded for a bunch of different labels: Bethlehem, Prestige, Mode, Epic, Savoy, and Verve. So recorded for a whole lot of different labels in '57. I think in '58 he was on Riverside, and soon after on Atlantic. Very prolific musician, obviously. So that's pretty cool. For $2, I've got Joe Puma on guitar, Irby Green on trombone, among the other guys. Really super clean looking pressing on this. This is the Jazz Odyssey series, it says. Looking forward to that. I never used to be into these kind of reissues, but I've kind of opened my mind. It's nice to have all the original cover art and stuff, but the sound quality on these reissues a lot of time is just superb. So moving along, next one up is some ECM. Slowly building up the ECM collection. This is some Gary Burton, the Vibes player. Gary Burton Quintet, and it's called Dreams So Real. And they're playing the music of Carla Bley. So in his band, he's playing Vibes. He's got Mick Goodrick on guitar, Pat Metheny on guitar, the 12-string, Steve Swallow on bass, and Bob Moses on drums. This is a US pressing here. Haven't had a chance to listen to this yet, but I like Carla Bley's music. Got some interesting compositions. Yeah, should be a good one. That was $2. Usually on the prices on these things are really reasonable, and especially if you wait till they're the half price day. It's just you'd be a fool not to buy some of these things. And next, an old Columbia. This is Pete Rugolo and his orchestra, Adventures in Rhythm. Let me get the plastic off there. Pete Rugolo, I think, played trumpet, but he was also an arranger and yeah, West Coast jazz type guy. Had to make some crib notes here because unlike Blue Note, some of the other labels, it doesn't list the musicians clearly at the top. These like Columbia, they always stick them somewhere in the little notes on the back hidden away, and it drives me nuts. So on trumpet, you've got Pete Rugolo, Maynard Ferguson, and Pete Condoli, one of the Condoli brothers on trumpet, Bud Shank on alto sax, Bob Cooper on tenor sax. What did I write there? Bob Gordon and Jimmy Giuffre on baritone sax, Lorindo Almeida on guitar. Yeah, so nice collection of jazz players, and Pete Rugolo does some really cool arrangements, so that should be a good one. And finally for this video, something I've kind of been looking for just for two reasons. One is the artist and the material he's working on, but second, the cover art. Cover art by a guy named Jim Flora. Did some really cool cover art back in, I guess, the late 50s. And this one is Shorty Rogers. Shorty Rogers Courts the Count. So you got Shorty Rogers, the trumpet player, arranger. Another guy like Pete Rugolo, probably a little better well known. And I think he played in Stan Kenton's bands, one of the many great musicians to come out of Stan Kenton's band. And this one, another one that's stamped. Got the Terrence S. Small stamp of approval on it. So part of the Music Professor's collection here. See if I have any info. Okay, on the back it's got all the musicians. So you got Maynard Ferguson, Harry Edison, Shorty Rogers on trumpets, a few others on sax, Jimmy Jeffrey, Zoot Sims, Herb Geller, Bob Cooper, Bud Shank, and a guy named John Gross on French horns. He did some really interesting recordings of his own. Curtis Counts on bass, Shelly Manne on drums. You know, it's got to be a good West Coast thing if it's got Shelly Manne on drums. Pete Candoli on trumpet as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I love this funky cover art this guy did. Jim Flora. Really neat stuff. So that's it for this video. I'm not going to try to show everything a whole bunch in one video because I know it gets a little much after a while. But I'll come right back with another video, part 2. It's probably going to take me about 5 videos to go through all the stuff I found. But hope you enjoyed it. There's more coming up. Thanks for watching.